So I enjoyed this past weekend's events, the fights that happened. I knew I would enjoy it. Great fights, great fighters, great card. First thing I want to say is to Edgar Berlanga's, you know, kudos to him for taking that fight, because I'm sure he understand behind closed doors. He understood how risky it is, how dangerous it is, and he understand that he had a great shot to lose. So kudos to him for taking a fight like that. And he came to a point with his career where he had to show and prove, and win a world title eventually, or put himself in a position to win one. So after losing to Canelo and all of that. So, but the good news about this weekend for Edgar is that he has a road back, which is to fight Caleb Plant. You guys have animosity towards each other. There's a great build-up. There could be a great build-up to a fight, and it could be sold, that fight. You guys both signed a PBC right now, so that's a great fight to make. So that's the good news for Edgar. There's opportunity there for him to come back and show and prove. So it's not completely over, even though that's such a devastating, knockout or whatever. And that's another thing people are not talking about that's bothering me. The fact that it was a TKO. It was a TKO and not a KO. And I'm upset about it, mainly because I betted on it. And it was supposed to be a TKO. Why? Because the ref stopped the fight. There was no 10 count. And everybody knows, whoever knows about the sweet science and knows about the rules, knows that the difference between a TKO and a KO is a KO. The ref, there's a standing 10 count. And if the fighter can't beat the count or doesn't get up before the count is over, that's a KO. A TKO is when the ref comes in and stops the fight because he sees that the other fighter is incoherent and unable to defend himself. So the Edgar Berlanga Sheeraz fight was a TKO. It wasn't a KO, and that shit is bothering me that nobody's mentioning it. And it's bothering me because I lost bread, but it is what it is, whatever. But I think the reason that was done is just so that Sheeraz could have a KO on his record. And it just goes to show the power that this dude Turkey has. So, and of course the Shakur fight, which is what I expected. Shakur versus Zepeda. I've been tweeting about that shit for months. I never wanted to see that fight. I didn't think it would be competitive. I didn't think it would, quote unquote, bring the best out of Shakur like he's claiming it did. What I think would bring the best out of Shakur? An athletic boxer puncher. Somebody who's just as athletic as Shakur is, has similar fast twitch or somewhere on the same level, because that's where I feel that he has a high level. That fast twitch and that reflex, his is very elite and non-pareil in terms of Shakur. So I think something that would challenge him and bring the best out of him is somebody just as young, just as athletic, with just as much fast twitch and reflex that can box and punch. That's what's going to challenge Shakur. Let's see you get away from somebody that could move the same way as you or just on the same level as you, and that could crack. What happens when you get cracked by somebody who can really punch? Zepeda that has no power. And we saw, during the fight where, Shakur got hit with a good shot, and he basically just took it and smiled, and he kept on sitting in the pocket with Zepeda, which I knew he would be able to do, and won the fight by UD, which I expected him to do, because the skill level is there's a huge difference. So again, Kamel Moulton, Abdullah Mason, Floyd Schofield, Herrera, guys like that, man. Punches, boxer punches, guys, young guys that are athletic as Shakur that could crack. People like that, Andy Cruz, People like that, guys his size that could crack. So that's what I want to see. That's who I want to see Shakur face. Obviously, Tank Davis would be a great fight, but I think Tank Davis would beat Shakur personally. It would be like Turkey say, Tom and Jerry. That shit would be cat and mouse. But yeah, all in all, it was a cool event, cool fight card, and like I said before in a lot of my previous posts, I reject the idea that Turkey's quote unquote saving boxing. I think he's just bringing forth his own agenda and fulfilling his fantasies in boxing. That's what I think. It's not about the fans or anything but him fulfilling the fights that he wants to see. And he's put a few fight cards together that are good. I'm not gonna deny that, but boxers are getting paid, so that's a great thing. But I also see the corruption, and I see the foul play. When he has favoritism towards his fighters, he does little slick stuff to move the pendulum, to move the goalpost, so to speak, and change the rules. So it happened with the Sheeraz versus Carlos Adames fight when he illegally gave Sheeraz the official scorecards and told him he was behind. And this time around when they gave Sheeraz the KO when it should have been the TKO. So I just wanted to say that, to say my piece, and say my words on here. You know what I mean? Shout out to all the boxing nerds, and long live boxing, man. Hopefully we get some more great fights. Usyk and Dubois is coming up, and of course Canelo and Crawford is coming up at the end of the year. Norman and Daydream Haney coming up. Looking forward to seeing Bam Rodriguez fight. Shushu Carrington is coming up in a few weeks. So it's been a great summer of boxing so far. Hopefully it continues. And yeah, man.